All right, this got split up into parts, so here we go with part two. We're going to get straight back into it. Part two.
Why do black women do this, but not white women or Indian women or Asian women or other people?
Well, I don't know if white women do this or not. A lot of white women on welfare too. I can't speak for white women because I'm not part of that. I'm not part of that culture, but I know what I grew up around. I've heard the conversations amongst women. I've heard the things that they've said. One of the issues that I point out in my show, which is a real issue, during the time where Gen Xers were younger and you had the boomer parents, you had this switch, like you talked about earlier, where the women started going into the workforce more and going to get their education more. Well, one of the things that happened is a lot of the boomer women would use their daughters to help them with the housework. So when mom goes off to work or whatever, her daughter is helping raise the siblings. And what I've had a lot of women tell me, a lot of black women tell me, and I know it's anecdotal, but I've had a lot of women tell me one of their escapes was to have sex, have a child with a guy, because then she can get Section 8 or she can get public housing. And now she can move out and get the hell away from her mama's house where her mother's forcing her to cook, clean, and do all of the housework. And they feel like slaves.
All right, okay. First of all, what sense would it make for somebody to go out and have a kid so that they can get away from their mother because they feel like their mother is stunting their development by having them cook, clean, and do housework? If they have a child, they're going to have to cook, clean, and do housework for that child. So what's the difference between that and just taking care of your siblings? Not to mention, eventually you can get your money up and move out and start your life. If you have a child, you're never going to be able to really get your money up because you got to take care of that kid. Also, what's being failed to mention is it's extremely, listen, I'm not going to sit here and say that there aren't some black women in lower income neighborhoods who do have, from the hood, who do go out and have kids and get pregnant so that they can basically live off the system. Okay? No, I'm not going to say that they don't do that. And I'm sure there are some white women who do it, some Asian women who do it, and some Hispanic women who do it, right? But Angryman is talking like this is the norm. This is not the norm. Even when you're dealing with ghetto ratchet ass women, this is still not the norm. First of all, it is extremely hard, especially nowadays, because everybody knows this was something women were doing, to even get welfare, let alone Section 8 and all this stuff. If you were to go to Section 8, for example, in the DMV right now, the waiting list is like 8 years. You're not just going to get Section 8. Right? And they cut down the amount of months you can be without a job and how often you have to prove that you're working. They don't even pay as much anymore. Not to mention a bunch of landlords and tenants aren't even taking Section 8 clients anymore because they be destroying the damn house. Like, it's a lot of extra stuff going into this. For Angryman to be saying it as if this is the norm, like this is the black woman's success strategy, is nuts. A very small minority of hood rat women do this. Most single mothers don't get Section 8. All right, I'd say about half of them get food stamps. Some of them don't even get that. It's not hard to make the more money than is required for them to give you food stamps. All right, but a lot of them will get food stamps. But Section 8, oh, that's not a retirement plan. It's not as often as he's mentioned it. But Angryman is also a Gen Xer before they started to change the rules heavily on trying to get these social services programs. So it probably happened a lot more when he was younger, but it's definitely not really relevant to today. And it was never the norm. What he's talking about is an extremely desperate hood rat, not black woman, an extremely desperate hood rat. To say that this is what black women are doing, and that's why the single parent ratio is so high, would be to go back to Destiny's point, which is also not true. But I'm just saying, if you're going to say this, you have to agree with him, which is, well, the reason that there's so many black men who are dead or in jail is because all of them are thugs and they go out and commit crime, which is not true. Like, we're going to the extremes. First, we went from talking about men and women in general to then talking about black women and black men to then talking about hood dudes and hood rats and passing it off as if all black men are hood dudes and all black women are hood rats. And we're doing this to the pleasure and enjoyment of a white man. Who Destiny, I don't know anything about Destiny, so I ain't by no means am I saying this is true. But there are people who will claim that Destiny is racist. He hasn't said anything racist so far that I've heard in this debate, right? But there's people who will claim that he is. If that's the case, why are we having this conversation with this man? Like, this whole situation is just overall goofy. Goofy. You're sitting in front of a bunch of white people and telling them that the average black woman is so damn ghetto and ratchet that her life's goal, her only way to escape her terrible mother, like this is an episode of Precious or something, is to go out and have a damn baby and get Section 8 and welfare and beat the damn system. Come on, son. Like, just why? For what? And why are we saying this in literally a room full of white men? Why are we throwing ourselves out there like this? It's like, it's wild, man. It's wild. This conversation shouldn't even be happening in the context that it's happening, but let's continue.
I hate to be like a nerd and be like, we should look at the stats, but like, people don't. There might be some people that do this, but like, single moms don't live glorious lives. Like, it sucks. Being a single mom sucks. You can get all the fucking welfare in the world, but nobody's living like a queen on Section 8 housing. But right? I'm just saying, I don't think people are choosing like, oh, like, I'm going to finally move out of my mom's house by having a kid and getting welfare. I don't think people are making choices like that. I think it might happen, and then people collect welfare afterwards.
No, they actually are. Because you don't, here's the thing, because this is what you're not getting. It's not a choice that they're making because it's the best choice in the sense that when I do this, I'm going to have an awesome life. You're already dealing with a group of people who are already at the bottom of the socioeconomic ladder.
If this was true, why do black women do abortions more than any other group of people? Shouldn't they be having the most children then to take advantage of all the welfare?
Damn. See, now he's got a good point. Because Angryman did bring up earlier, black women be deleting kids, and that's the reason that black men are greatly undernumbered, and it's not because they're in jail, and it's not because they're killing each other. So going with your ridiculously wild generalization that you're trying to cast upon all black women, or even for this to be a norm of black people, bruh, at most half of the black community, at most, is hood rats and hood dudes. You're saying it literally like most of us are. That's crazy, bruh. The average black American man makes $41,000 a year. If we weren't working, we wouldn't be able to do that. We was all in the streets, we wouldn't be able to do that. If all black women were living on welfare, they wouldn't be the most enrolled in school. This is ridiculous. You're trying so hard to make black women look bad. You're making the whole entire community look bad as a result. And Destiny just brought up a very good point. If you honestly believe that these women are fighting to get on the system by having a kid, then how can you then also argue that they're deleting their children and that's why the numbers are low? Those two things can't exist at the same time, bruh. They're in direct contradiction to each other. Because like he said, if the objective is to have a kid so we can live on welfare, well then why are we getting so many deletions? It doesn't make sense. Again, Angryman is trying so hard to throw black women under the bus right now. Why, I don't know, because the original conversation had nothing to do with black men and black women, that he's literally making the whole entire community look bad. Like, this is wild. In front of the ops. It's crazy. Again, a white man would never have a conversation where he's airing white women's dirty laundry out like this to a black man. He wouldn't do it. A white woman would never bring on a black woman and have a conversation like this. You would never see Just Pearly Things bringing on a Melanie King or a Six the Guys or a Crimson Cure and going in on white men like this. She would not do it. You would never see a Richard Cooper bring on an Angryman or bring on Obsidian or a O'Shea and go in on white women. Like, they won't do it. But Angryman is going in on black women right now and defending black men while going in on black women and just airing out all the dirty laundry of the community and acting as if these hood rats and these hood dudes represent black people. It's insane. Like, it's insane, man. And it's crazy that he didn't realize how he was getting manipulated into this. You're shitting on your own community for no reason. But let's continue.
There's numerous reasons for that too. For one, you have some women that genuinely don't really want to have kids. They like the party lifestyle. But the ones that do, they want to have those kids by a specific guy. Okay? Because some guys are going to bring more benefits than others. Okay? When it comes to child support. There are chicks out here in the black community, they'll get pregnant by a guy. If a chick gets pregnant by a guy that just enlisted in the military, she's not deleting that baby. It ain't going to happen. It ain't going to happen because she knows that's definite child support. And look, this is not something that everybody talks about in polite society, but it's something that goes on a regular basis. I know this for a fact. I've had these experiences. Numerous men that I know have had these experiences. When I talked about this the other night on my show, there was a guy, Adam, that was telling me that, well, that's not true. I don't believe that. And then I literally had a black woman come onto my show and say, yes, her family has even told her to do that because she's in her 20s. She doesn't have any children. And at one point she needed a place to stay or whatever. And she said that the women in her family was basically scolding her. You need to go out here and find a guy that you don't really like that, get pregnant by him so that you can get all of the benefits that we get. They do this. I know it sounds crazy, but they do this. This is one of the things that the men in my culture have been constantly complaining about. And it's being treated like we're delusional.
Well, I don't know. I mean, to complain about it as a guy.
Well, it's not delusional that it happens. It does happen. But to act as if this is normal for black women is 100% delusional because it's not. It's not. Just like acting like the average black man is some raging the hood dude is 100% delusional. They're both delusional, but what you want to present to Destiny is that the idea that black men are these raging hood dudes is delusional, but the idea that black women are just getting pregnant and getting on welfare and living off the system in large proportion of numbers isn't delusional. And that's what's making you seem crazy right now.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Well, I mean, the smart guys out here, look, if you look at black guys out here, the smart guys, they're not out here getting a bunch of women pregnant. They're not.
Well, how are they getting pregnant?
Because there's literally 3 guys in Tennessee right now that have a total of 86 children by 34 different women. There are guys out here that have 10 children by 5 different women. There are guys out here, like when you go look at the CDC stats, when it comes to the deadbeat dads, that actually represents a small percentage of the black male population. It's about 8%, right? So what's happening is you have a number of women that are basically having children with multiple guys, but it's a very small percentage of the male population. It's not all of us. So what's happening is you end up with these guys out here, and I can't name how many times I've heard this, and it's crazy. I didn't even know it was a reality. But I myself only have 3 children by 1 woman, right? So you have these guys out here that'll be like, yeah, my dad had 19 kids.
Why? Okay, then if women are choosing, if black women are choosing to get pregnant for the welfare and all that shit and child support, none of these women are getting child support then. If there's one guy knocking up like 30 fucking women, right? So why would they even do this? Why would they make these choices?
Because
that's another good point. First of all, I told you guys this before. Something like 65% of child support cases never even get paid. Never get paid at all. Like no one ever pays anything. So the majority of women aren't even getting child support, if we're being honest here. But similar to what Destiny said, if it's one man knocking up all these women, and we're not talking about future Nick Cannon or NBA Youngboy, they can't afford it. So these women aren't getting child support. So what are we really talking about here? Now, again, it's not that he's completely lying that, especially in the hood, one dude to go around and knock up multiple women, right? But to act like this is the norm is what's throwing me off here. Like, that's the thing. Yes, there are dudes who go around and one dude will knock up multiple women, right? But we're talking about low-tier, low-value women, or we're talking about rich men. We're not talking about regular situation. It's not normal for me to meet one dude who got 15 something different baby mamas. It's not. 1 or 2 max. Yeah. 15? Nah. And to be honest with you, now granted, I'm being fair here. I only hang with dudes who are on my level. So most of my friends don't even have kids. But the ones who do, they just have one set. They don't have multiple baby mothers. So yes, these guys exist. It's not that Angryman's making this up. It's just that he's trying to make this the norm. And it's like, come on, bro. Come on. Now, again, there are more black women with kids than there are black men. There are. Right? So again, like I said, it's not like he's completely making this up or pulling this completely from out of his behind. But normalizing that as if there's a whole bunch of one dudes walking around here with 19, 17 kids. No. It's not that many. It's not that many. The numbers add up to about a quarter more black women having kids than black men. Which goes back to what I said, is you might meet some dudes who got like 2 baby mothers. 3 max. Most are probably going to have 2 if they have more than 1. Which adds up to the extra 25% of black women with kids you see that black men don't have. Half of, like 54% of black men don't have kids. Like 70-something% of black women have kids. That math adds up. When you start to get into the 6s and 7 dudes knocking up 6, 7 different women, that ain't happening unless the dude's rich. It's not. So this is extremism to try to prove a point. But let's continue.
That's the way that system is structured, right? Even if you can't extract child support out of the guy, right? There are still numerous programs that you can get. I know a woman that had, I think she has like 10 children. Habitat for Humanity gave her a house.
Yeah, but do you think that's the norm? But that's not the norm, right?
It's not the norm?
That people are getting free houses for having kids in black communities? No, I don't think so.
That's not the norm? Okay. Look.
Well, here, I'm curious. How many...
Come on, Angryman. You know damn well it ain't the norm that people are getting free houses for having kids. Apartments, yeah. But again, that Section 8 wait list is already long as hell. But a whole free house being normal? Come on, son. It's nothing wrong with taking an L. At a certain point, you got to take an L and swallow your pride, man. This is trying way too hard not to take an L.
And I'm not trying to, I need 52.8%. I don't need an exact stat. But, how many women do you think in the black community that get pregnant? How many of them, roughly, what percentage of them are just, looking for a welfare check? Just so I can get an idea of, where you think the scale is.
I could tell you how many are pregnant out of wedlock, which I think is a little above 70-some%. But so far as their motive, that would be a little harder to pin down. Because I'm not saying that all of them. What I'm saying is that is a cultural trend. And the reason why it's a trend is because you have women that will school their daughters to do that.
Yeah, I guess I'm just curious, because I'm sure it's happened. I'm not going to tell you it's never happened. But I'm just curious, where you think, do you think this is 2% of the community, which would be pretty fucked up? Or do you think it's 50% of the community that's super fucked up? I'm just curious what you think the number is. And then I'll do research on it later. I'll try to look it up, I guess.
I've literally never thought about, because where would you get a census for that? But
the issue is that I guess the issue is that you're content to blame, or it feels like it. Maybe I'm getting a bad rating, you correct me, but it feels like you're content to blame the majority of the black community's problems on black women, but then you're relying on a lot of I know a woman that told me this, I've got a friend that's done that, and it's okay, but how do you know that this is representative of the black community?
Anecdotal evidence. Angryman is basically saying, I grew up in the hood, so I know these things happen. Here's the problem. As someone who grew up in the hood and then put myself into high black society, they don't do this in high black society. They don't. The black people who are culturally black and have money don't do this. The black people who are basically black white supremacists, because they're not culturally black and they hate black people, but they still have money, they don't do this. They're more traditional. So what Angryman is talking about is the hood, because that's his experience. But the reality is, even in the hood, this is still extremism. The majority of women in the hood ain't getting no free house. And the majority of women in the hood don't have Section 8. Now, again, I'm giving him the caveat that because he's in Generation X, it was a lot more pronounced back then before the government caught up. But you're talking to Destiny, who's a millennial. It ain't like that with us, bruh. They can't do it. I've seen them try. It ain't gonna work. The government been capped that. They been capped that. This is old, antiquated, outdated thinking. Nowadays, women are going to school and getting their degrees. You just acknowledged earlier that, oh yeah, you know, they're the most enrolled. Why would they get enrolled into school if they're going to live off of welfare and having a kid? Well, maybe one of the reasons black women are the most enrolled is because they cannot do that anymore. You're kind of arguing against yourself here, bruh. Like, this is not logic. But let's continue.
The whole, or how do you know that, like, in different towns or cities, like, this is how it works everywhere? Like, it seems like numbers or census data on that would be pretty important.
The reason why I know it is because every single time there's an issue with Section 8. Right now, recently, they just had an issue with Section 8 where a lot of the landlords in Atlanta have stopped taking Section 8. So guess what? Black women are all across social media crying about it.
Well, but what does that show? I mean, like, if you genuinely need the assistance, of course you're going to cry about it, right?
But no, it's not. It's some that genuinely need the assistance, but it's a lot that continue to live on it. These are people that live on the system the majority of their life. They're not using it in the sense that they're supposed to use it for, where, oh, I'm down bad, I have some issues, let me use this so that I can get on my feet. They're not doing that. What they're doing is they're looking and finding loopholes to continue to be on that system perpetually. That's the problem.
I mean, if you have a kid, you're going to be on the system. If you're a single mom, of course you will be, right? You're not going to try to, like, get out of, like, Section 8 housing or assistance for your child if you're a single mom and your kid turns, like, 3 years old, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I don't see that, like, I don't see, like, single moms looking for assistance from the government as, like, a negative thing.
Here's the thing. Hold on one second. I got my guy, Patriarchy, here. I'm going to bring him up. I didn't just want to bring him up and have you feel like I'm ambushing you or whatever. But
yeah, no, I guess about.
I know he wanted to get a piece of the conversation.
Oh, they're about to tag team him now. Double up. All right, let's see what Patriarchy talking about. I have no idea who that is, but let's see what he's talking about.
Patriarchy. What's going on,
man? Let me ask you a question, right? Destiny, you said you can't blame, I guess, the failures on the black community on black women. Is that what you said? Can you refresh that for me?
Yeah, I don't think you can't, like, blame all the failures of the black community on black women. I don't think that's fair.
What about blaming the majority?
Okay, so this conversation, guys, I want you just to follow this. We went from talking about the dynamics between men and women relationships to talking about black women not being traditional, to talking about black women and men's relationship dynamics, to talking about black women having kids so that they could survive, to talking about Joe Biden's crime guild, to talking about, who's at blame for the black community. We're having an entire black discussion with a white guy being watched by a bunch of white guys. And understand, I'm not being racist in what I'm saying, but again, there's no way white people would sit here and air out their dirty laundry like this for the amusement and enjoyment of black men. White men aren't goofy enough to want to bash white women so bad that they start bashing themselves or get tricked into telling their own dirty secrets. They're not going to do that. Only black men would do some shit like this. This is goofy. Goofy as hell, man. All to try to make black women look bad. This is suicide bombing. For those of you who've been a member of this channel before, you already know what suicide bombing is. It's generally what women do, but it's what Patriarchy and Angryman is doing right now. It's some feminine shit, which basically suicide bombing means that you will make yourself look bad or basically blow up your own spot or your own reputation or your own situation as long as you take down your opposition with you. That's why I say women are suicide bombers, because typically what I tell the guys is women don't care about making themselves look like a whore or look like a liar or look like a snake or even look stupid as long as they make you look bad too. So what Angryman Patriarchy is essentially doing is they're so pressed to put the majority of the blame on black women, they're willing to concede that black men ain't crap as long as you're not saying that they ain't more not crap than black women. That's basically what they're doing right now. Suicide bombing. But let's continue.
For either, especially when it comes to child making, because it takes two to tango. It's men and women.
Correct, right? But the thing is, if you're telling me that in certain parts of the world, as you said, they outnumber men 3 to 1, why would you not then at least, I'm not saying blaming is going to do anything, but why would you not say that there's some responsibility for what it is that they're doing? Also,
because the
fact
question,
My man got the gaming
the
headset.
question is, why do they outnumber men 3-1? It's because a lot of the guys are getting locked up.
Okay, and I think that that is the man's fault as well, right?
Sure.
But in general, even outside of the men that are being locked up, there's 1 million more black women than there are black men, right? And in your earlier statements, you said that they were the backbone of the community. If you have a backbone of a community and the community is failing, then I think you have some ability to place responsibility on what you said that backbone was.
Well, yeah, but I mean, like, they're not the backbone because women want to be the leaders of the black community. But that's essentially what's happened in a lot of these communities.
Tell that to the squad that women don't want to be the leaders of the black community. It looks, as you said before, they're doing better in school. They're certainly making all the steps to become those leaders.
They do, because they have to, because black men have failed them.
Okay.
Because black men are looking back to legislation from 30 years ago saying Biden put drugs in my car, I had to carry a gun. Like, all of these communities that are being policed have just as... Well, like we said earlier, there's more black women than black men in these communities. Black women aren't selling drugs. Black women aren't killing each other in the streets. Black women aren't, getting fucked with drugs like Biden made them to do it. So to say that, black women are the fault because they're the backbones of these communities that are really rough to manage because black men have, fallen on themselves so much, I just think it's fair to say that, the problem is black women because they have to step up to try to manage these communities.
But it's
damn. Now listen, man. Listen. All right. Here's the thing that's crazy about this. Destiny isn't even saying that it's black men's fault. All he's saying is that it can't be all black women's fault. And you can talk all day about them being single mothers, but then where are the fathers at? You could talk all day about them going out and getting deletion, but we got to also talk about how many black men are selling drugs in their own community, which is true. We got to also then talk about how many black men are killing each other, which is true. And this is why I said you shouldn't even be having this conversation with Destiny, because what's happening is they're getting triggered because he's talking about black men and the black men's problem in the community, but you can't get triggered because if we're going to talk about the black women, we have to talk about the black men. We got to be balanced, and they don't want it to be balanced. And they don't want black men to get attacked because then they feel personally attacked. Which is why you should have just kept the conversation that men and women and never turned it into black men versus black women in the first damn place. Ah, man, let's continue.
Before it takes two to tango. So if you're why don't you share responsibility in that blame? I don't disagree with you, right? I personally think Biden's crime bill was very effective in terms of lowering crime. But what I'm saying is that if I go to a community and you make up the majority voter base, right? Also, another reason why I think that the blame should be at least somewhat at somebody's feet is because who's consuming most of that welfare spending?
Yeah, well, it would make sense if black women are because black men run from their families, right? Okay. So of course,
no, that
but also real quick.
See, look, trigger alert. Now, do all black men run from their families? Of course not. But what's Destiny bringing up? Stereotypes. Well, black men run from their families. Well, black men sell drugs. Well, black men kill each other. You can't get upset about him bringing up these stereotypes when you're stereotyping black women. Well, black women delete their babies. Well, black women go out here and get pregnant by the same guy. Well, black women go out here and get welfare and child support. There's more white women on child support than black men. I mean, not child support, I'm sorry. There's more white women on welfare and Section 8 than black women. But you can't get triggered when he's saying this about black men and you're saying all this crap about black women. Like, that's crazy.
I just want to be really clear. Wait, you can answer that, and then I just want to be really quick. I'm not going to say black women are blameless. I'm just saying the responsibility should be shared. It's probably a 50-50 thing. Because for every black man that stepped on a black woman after getting her pregnant, there's a black woman that fucked a black dude before getting married or deciding to use birth control, right? So I think there's equal blame there. But I wouldn't say that it's like most of it goes on black women. I said there's like 50-50.
Well, here's the thing. No, because you said something. We gotta clear that up. Black men do not run from their families. That is a total misnomer, and that is that is something that has been pushed for a very long time, and it is not accurate. As I stated before, when you go back to the 70s, you start to see black men leaving the households for numerous reasons. It wasn't just because they just decided, oh, you know what, I don't want to be a father. That's not true. They actually came out with a study, and the CDC numbers disproved that. So let's
Wait,
stop
CDC numbers just proved what? The black household having single moms is not like a myth.
No, I didn't say that. What I'm talking about is nowadays black fathers are actually in their children's lives more than any other demographic, even if they're not in the household. So
no,
if we're talking
come on, that's not true.
Go look it up.
I have looked it up. I know exactly
CDC.
I know exactly the
CDC.
fucking PDF. Yeah, what they do is they do a whole bunch of like really clever number games to basically try to say that. I remember reading this thing, the truth about black fatherhood, and then it goes into stereotypes of black fathers. What they try to say is that like of the fathers that are absent in their child's lives, black fathers tend to be more involved than the other people that are uninvolved in their children's lives. But as a whole, for like whose fathers are more involved in their children's lives, the black community is the worst. Now, of the ones that are uninvolved, maybe the uninvolved, or maybe the black fathers that are out of the household are a bit better than like the white and the Asian and Indian and the Indian fathers that are out of the household. But as a whole, well, wait, hold on. You can't tell me that like it's so. Wait, real quick. Let me just finish real quick. You can't tell me in one breath that I look around and I see all women are having children because I've got two friends that told me this for welfare, and then in the next breath say, well, I'm going to cite this like very esoteric analysis to prove that black men are just as involved with their children as everybody else, when everybody in the United States knows that's not true.
Yes, I can, because look, okay, first of all, what everybody in the United States knows is true is a whole other story, especially considering the fact that you have an entire media system that has spent the past 70 years dogging black men, which is another reason why we're talking so much shit nowadays. This is the whole reason that channels like mine exist, to speak truth to power and tell what's really going on, as opposed to the narrative that's being pushed that black men are just sorry. First and foremost, it doesn't matter how many women are on welfare. It does not mean that the fathers are not in their lives. I was in my child's life, and my kid's mother still went and got welfare. So that's not true.
Yeah. I do think that when you're talking about fathers running out, right, I do think that you're not.
He said, I was still in my child's life and the mother put me on welfare. He should have said child support. He might have said child support. I could be saying it wrong. But either way, not only is that more anecdotal evidence, but if you had custody of your kids, you wouldn't have been able to do that. So that's not to say that he wasn't in his kid's life. That's not to say that he wasn't helping the kids out. But it is to say she had primary custodial custody of those children, which is what enabled her to put you on child support in the first place. So if black men are so active as parents, why don't you just get custody of your kids and then you don't have to worry about child support anymore? I've been telling black men on my channel since I've started it, hey, go get your kids, especially if they're boys. But even if they're girls, leave your girl with the mother until she gets to middle school. Go get your daughter. If it's your son, go get your son. Fight for your son in court from the jump. As a matter of fact, I've also been telling black women, give the damn kids to the men. Instead of trying to put them on child support, which ain't going to get paid, instead of running around here and you can't get married and get in a relationship because you got this man kid, give the man the damn kid. I've been saying that on both ends. It ain't happening for a reason. Let's not pretend. The majority of black men do not want to be the primary custodial parents of the kids. They don't want the responsibility. They don't want to help with the homework. They don't want to take the kids to the doctor's appointments. They don't want the kids in the way when they're trying to clap some other woman's cheeks. They don't mind being the weekend dad. They don't mind being the summer dad. But the majority of men do not want to be the primary custodial parents. And that's not even a black man thing. That's a man thing in general, which is why the statistics show that single father households work better than single mother households, because you got to be a certain type of man in the first place to even want to be a single father. For example, I would take my kids. I've already told everyone on the channel exactly what I would do if for whatever reason me and my wife broke up after we had a kid. If it's the daughter, she keeps the daughter until middle school primarily, then I take the daughter primarily. If it's a boy, I keep this boy until middle school primarily, and then she takes the boy after middle school primarily. Why? Because I need to put that foundation of masculinity and manhood in him in his forming years. By the time he becomes a teenager, now you need to talk to him about dealing with the opposite sex. And you need to give him that balance of femininity. Same thing with the daughter. You need to be with the daughter in her developing years to teach her how to be a woman in her femininity. Then she needs to be with her dad so she can learn how to deal with men and how to balance out masculinity and understand it. Simple. Most men ain't got plans like that. Most men do not want to be the primary custodial parents of their children. Let's not pretend that they do. Again, that's not even a black man thing. That's just a man thing in general. Men do not want to be babysitting. They don't. Men call watching their own kids babysitting, and women will tell you that. But let's continue.
Really taking note of the court system, and they really don't have a choice when 90% of custody is going to be awarded to the woman.
Yeah, but that's because the women are the ones taking care of the kids. Black fathers, because we.
How do you know that?
Hold on. So let me just clearly state it. So you guys think that black fathers are being kept out of their child's lives because of the courts?
I think there are some. Right?
Okay, wait, hold on. Some. When you say some, like 40% or 1%? I need you to quantify that for me.
Well, I can quantify that 90% of custody is awarded to women.
Okay, and I can quantify that less than 48% of black women get child support because their baby daddies don't even pay it. So I'm asking you, when we have an epidemic of single mother black families, do you think that most of those black men are being kept out because of custody arguments with judges?
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
That's delusional. That's delusional.
But when you look at the ratio. When you literally have a system that will award a woman custody 90% of the time, you can't say every single time it was the man that didn't want to be there. The men don't have a choice when you know if you go into something, you're going to lose 90% of the time.
The reason why women are awarded custody most of the time is because women are usually the ones taking care of the kids.
It's by choice?
That's not true.
That's not true.
Of course. Wait, hold on. You're telling me, let me hear that. You think that men and women in the black community take care of children at home equally? That it's just as likely for the woman to work or the man to work, and both of them are just as likely to be taking care of the children?
What I'm saying is that the court system...
Let me say this. First of all, the women are not taking care of the children. Most of these children are wards of the state. They may as well be. The state is taking care of those children. The food stamps is feeding them. Section 8 in public housing is putting a roof over their head. These women are not doing anything except presiding over these children. Not to mention the fact that there is an epidemic in the black community of children being abused. And if you go look up the stat on that, the majority of the time that they're being abused is when they're in the custody of their mothers. I just recently did a story about a mother who literally deleted her child. And when the police arrested her for it, she confessed. The reason why I did it is because she loved her daddy more. Literally, she confessed.
I can't.
This is not even my opinion.
Yeah, I can't argue with like the stories you give me. Like I can give you one story for every other story that you've got. I can't argue with that. If you think the majority of black men aren't in their households of their children because of like judges, I don't like. You could never give that. No, there's no stat. There's no way.
That's more anecdotal evidence. That story is one black woman. And similar to what Destiny said, you can find stories of black men deleting their women and their children all the time. As a matter of fact, a black man recently, and I covered this story, deleted a 19-year-old woman because he was sleeping with her behind his wife's back. And she told. So you can find plenty of stories of black men killing women and children too. That doesn't prove anything one way or the other.
It's just insane.
What I can do is I can look at where custody is being awarded. I can look at where the welfare money is being distributed. Right? I can look at, so for example, even what you said earlier about women getting houses, I can look up something as simple as Section 8 vouchers. You're making it seem like these women are just, that they just had to do this hard job of taking care of their child. If it wasn't for Section 8 welfare, food stamps, and a court system, you don't know what would happen.
Well, yeah, because working and taking care of a kid at the same time is not possible. You need help. You can't do that as a single parent. So when you say, where is the welfare money going? Probably going to the people that have the child, which is going to be the mothers, of course. But Section 8 and food stamps is not...
Who's giving the mother the child?
I mean, both of them are, right?
We just said that the court system 90% of the time gives the child to who?
Why do you think 90% of the time the mother is getting the child?
Because I think our court system has a bias towards giving children to women and ruling against men.
So I just want to hear this so it can be stated because it's ridiculous. You think that at least 50% of those black men would have fought to keep their children over the mom. You think that?
Yes.
Okay, I don't know what to say.
I think if those black men,
I'm totally clueless. You guys are lying to like make a point.
Hold on a second.
Yeah.
If those black men would have been armed with daddy government to get Section 8 welfare, food stamps, WIC, PPP loans, tax write-offs, or whatever.
This is disingenuous. And I know because I've been telling men to get custody of their kids, and I've heard them make up excuses why they don't want to go to court. Oh, it's because I'm not going to win. Oh, the judge's going to do this. Oh, she's going to do that. Da-da-da-da. They got every excuse in the world. So to sit here and pretend that at least half of these men really wanted custody of their kids, I doubt it. It's disingenuous. Well, let's continue.
Anybody can take care of a kid if you give them all that stuff. And then when you have the court system ruling that you're going to get the child 90% of the time, the men are automatically from the rip eliminated.
Okay, so how do you square this away? And maybe you don't agree with the Angryman who said this, so maybe the Angryman wants to amend a statement. Yeah. How do you square this away with the fact that like it's only like a few black men are knocking up like 50 women? Like you're telling me those men, if it's only a few men that are fucking over all of the women giving them babies, are those guys just trying to find a kid that they can eventually keep, or what's going on there? Would that guy want to keep every child, or what?
No, those are the deadbeats. That's why I cited that stat, 8%. Those are the deadbeat guys. No guy of any value is going to try.
Let me say something.
Not Angry Man. Destiny is basically having them hang themselves at this point. Because he went back to what Angry Man said earlier about how it's not black men having a bunch of kids. It's the same men knocking up all these women. So Destiny goes, okay, well, so you're trying to tell me that these dudes knocking up these women and having all these kids because they basically are looking for that one they want to take care of, or are they just pieces of shit? Oh, well, those are the deadbeats. You said that that's the majority. It's one man knocking up the women. So that would mean that Destiny was right when he was like, black men are leaving their kids. These two are getting owned right now. They don't even realize it.
The difference is, right, that those men don't get handouts from the government and sympathy from people such as yourself when they do those things.
Wait, but you could.
When women. So you're telling me there's a massive amount. Those men get the type of men that do that get Section 8 as much as women?
If you have a child, isn't the Section 8 qualification only based on income? And then you also get the same tax write-off. You get the same.
Look at how it's being distributed.
No, you can't ask me how it's being distributed, because if more women are single moms than more dad are single dads, then of course more women are getting Section 8. Of course.
Who gives the child to the mom?
The moms are taking care of it. How many of these guys have left before the kid is even born?
How do you know that? How can you quantify that?
We can literally look up numbers.
Go ahead, quantify how many dads leave don't put their name on the birth certificate versus how many men. We literally can find the data for men that lose custody of their children in court. Show me the data of men that leave their child at the hospital.
Okay, I can try to find this, but it's going to take me a little bit because I don't have this number like offhand. But I can try to find it. But why do black men have this unique problem when all these same welfare systems exist for white people, for Indian people, for Asian people as well?
Why do black men have this unique problem? Did you really ask that question?
Well, number one, I do think so. Hold on a second.
Wait, what's wrong with What's wrong with that question? That seems like a fair question to me. What's wrong with that question? Essentially, what he's asking you is, everybody else seems to be able to at least decently keep their women in line, and you can't. Why? Why?
Destiny's talking about in terms of crime, right? I do think that there is a culture of crime that is present, right? But I do think that when it kind of is a chicken and egg conversation. I think that when you're raised in a single mom household, that it kind of is a cycle, right? That's what I honestly think. So I do see what he's saying in terms of crime, but at the same time, it's not like the court system. It's not like if a black father out there wants his child, that the courts, even if the mom is strung out, that the courts are going to do everything to make sure that black father is able to have his kid.
Well, here's the reality. These are the numbers when it comes to, well, not the numbers, but this is the reality when it comes to black families. When you have black families, when there is a structured black family where you have the father and the mother, the child is way more likely to succeed and not get in any trouble and things of that nature. Also, if the child is awarded If the father is awarded custody of the child and he's being raised by a single father, he's less likely to get into trouble. The only time we see black men growing up and getting into a lot of trouble is when they're single mother raised. Now, the reason why this is, in my personal opinion, because I can't really quantify it, is because the women of today are not really taking the time to actually teach those children. They're actually zoning out. They have the children in the household running buck wild, they go outside, they run buck wild, and they're not really playing a heavy role in those children's lives. So that's what's going on culturally.
Yeah, but the question is, I'm sorry, I'm trying to look at this number. So here, this is like, because I've never looked at like this particular data before, but listed someone here. Apparently, 32% of black newborns have no father listed on the birth certificate. Now, this is just one. This is just Cook County, Illinois, but damn,
that's one part.
That is one part. Do you have any numbers on how many black fathers are listed on the birth certificate?
I know that I have numbers on how many children are awarded custody to their mother.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean anything.
I still have 90%. You have 30%.
Yeah, but you don't know why the number is 90%. That's the whole part of that conversation.
And you don't know why that number is 30%.
Well, is it because they're
maybe the mom told him the wrong hospital? I mean, if you're just making up, we both could make up numbers.
Okay. I can't think of many reasons why somebody wouldn't be on a birth certificate. If you can't, well, maybe the father dies. I don't know if that'd be a reason to give off. I can't think of many reasons why. If you can think of something, that's fine. Plus,
I can't think of a reason. Hold on a second. I can't think of a reason why 90% of custody should be awarded to women.
Okay, I can give you a ton of reasons right now because women tend to be primary caregivers for children. Courts tend to prioritize the well-being of the child, and a lot of fathers that fuck a woman might just end up leaving completely. So there's like barely.
How do you know the last one?
How do I know that fathers are more likely to leave mothers than mothers leave?
How do you know that with something that is that radical, with 90% to 10%, right? How do you know that every single one of those was a father that just did not want to be there? Okay, so if it's 90%, how do you know if even half of those were a father that just did not want to be in the child's life?
I don't know I don't know what the exact numbers are. If you're going to tell me that some men fight custody battles and they should win, but they lose because of a gender bias, that probably happens for sure. But when you look at a number like 90-10, that's not all sexism. A lot of that is going to be people awarded to mothers because the mother is the primary caregiver in that situation. I don't even know if the 90% figure is accurate. By the way, I'm trying to find a number on that.
I think it's like last time I checked, 90%. I'm rounding up, but I think it's like 88 or 89.
If you want to know where the 90% comes from, it's very simple. There are a lot of practices that go on in the court system that are still reminiscent of the past. It's still archaic. Okay, it's no different than the freaking marriage license. It's no different than any of that. We're still operating under the presumption that women are going to be better caregivers. That's the main reason. They automatically assume that when two people separate, the woman is going to remain in the house and the man is going to leave the house. So the court system does not want to uproot the child out of the house that they're used to living in and put them in another house. Sure. That's the reason.
So here, like,
now, hold on. Let me say this. For the 32%, that are not on the birth certificates, there's a few things that could be. One, the main reason is they could not know who the damn father is. That's one of the reasons. One of the reasons is you got so much promiscuity because here's the thing. When it comes to black culture specifically, there are two things that are being promoted in our music, which has a huge effect on our culture, which is for the guys, gang culture, crime, drug dealing is constantly promoted. For the girls, promiscuity, acting like thoughts, that is constantly promoted. So when you have that going on...
But that's constantly promoted to everybody. White girls twerk, Asian girls twerk. I just posted a video in my shorts where an Indian girl says Middle Eastern people twerk and grind their hips. You watch any movie they're promoting sex, violence, selling drugs. You listen to any music, they're promoting sex, violence, and doing or using or selling drugs. Hell, they had a country song. One of my exes liked country music. They used to have a song where they used to be like, back that thing up. So you want to take a ride in my big old truck. So what are we talking about here? What are we talking about? Why are we acting like this only happens in the black community? It doesn't. That's America in general. It's an entertainment-based economy. If we didn't have entertainment, our economy would be failing because we don't actually produce or build anything anymore. Even when we design something, it's still built in another country. And all the entertainment is negative for every single race. So I fail to realize how this is relevant to anything.
More young boys that are more prone to go out here and be part of gangs because they want to be part of something, or to go out here and sell drugs because they may have grown up with a mom that didn't have any money. And the other part of this is women tend to, when they're single mothers, they tend to look at their sons as a meal ticket. Oh, he's going to grow up and go do this, or he's going to go out and go do this and help with the household because that's the little man of the house, right? So you got that going on. On the flip side of that, you got the girls growing up, going out here, getting into the party lifestyle, all of that different stuff, getting pregnant. Sometimes they don't even know who the damn father is. Why do you think you had the emergence of these goofy shows back in the 90s where you are not the father, all of that goofy stuff? There's a lot of stuff that factors into that.
Okay, so nothing you told me can be proven, right? There's no number, there's no data. It's just like your stories. I could try to find stuff. I'm just digging around to see. But like, so here's a couple of things that I found, right? This is talking specifically about like that 90% figure.
Yeah.
That the certain men's rights groups have made the claim, and now the fucking page. Certain men's rights groups have made this claim. It seems obvious enough, given that it's that Chicago Tribune thing that I linked. It seems this fucking dog shit ass fucking thing. Hold on one second.
All right.
It's
You
giving
still
me
don't know what an NFT is, but we got you.
It's all right. I could tell. If you need me to tell you what an NFT is, I can explain.
That's my favorite episode with him.
Man, now we got another person coming in here, and all three of these dudes is light skinned. Where's the love for the dark skinned brothers at, man? Oh man.
Jesus. Okay. Certain men's rights groups have repeatedly made this claim, okay, that mothers have an automatic advantage in custody cases. It seems obvious enough given that more than 90% of the children of divorced and single parents live with their mothers. But there's more to that statistic than meets the eye. Most divorcing or single fathers, roughly 90%, never ask for custody. In contested divorce and parentage custody cases, however, the father wins 60% of the time. So if that's true...
Bingo! And this is why I've been trying to convince men since I started my channel. Because I've seen women get taken to court by fathers who aren't even good fathers and struggle to get their kids back. The reason women always get custody of the kids is because men don't try to get custody of the kids. And they use the excuse, oh, it's because they're not going to give me custody of the kids. Oh, it's because they favor the mother. When the reality is most men do not want to be the primary caregivers of the children. It's just not what we do. I'm not even saying it's a bad thing. It's not what we do. It's not what we've biologically done. It's not what we're wired to do. It's not what we're trained to do. We ain't trying to change diapers. We're not trying to go to doctor's appointments. We're not trying to tutor the kids with their work. We're not trying to lay their clothes out in the morning to get them dressed. We're not trying to cook for them. We're not trying to clean up after them. Stop pretending this is something that you want to do. You don't. Will you do it for a weekend? Sure. Will you do it for a summer? Sure. But every single day as the primary caregiver, you don't want to do that. Stop the cap. You do not want to do that. 5 days a week, 365 days of the year. You getting 2 days off every week. You don't want to do that. Stop the cap. No race. And it's funny that when he mentioned that statistic, because what did I say earlier? This doesn't even have anything to do with black men. That's just men in general. That statistic has no race to it. No man wants to do that. They don't. No man wants to do that. Not literally before someone comes in here and says, what are you saying? Oh, obviously there are some who do it. But very few want to. Women feel obligated to. Hence why the numbers are skewed about kids doing better with single fathers than single mothers. Because there's so few single fathers that the man who actually wants to do it is going to do great at it because he is rare. Every woman feels like it's her responsibility to take on a kid, and society makes her feel like it's her responsibility to take on a kid, even if she doesn't want to and she's not capable of it. As a result, the numbers get skewed. A man has to fight to take on the kid, and society's going to tell him he should walk away. So if he put in all that effort, of course he's going to do a good job. Like, none of this is rocket science.
Blows up your entire narrative.
Would you like me to ask? Would you like me to answer why that is?
Yeah, let me see that.
Because I can tell you why that is. if you really want to know.
Yeah, because usually they don't go to court because they don't have the funds or whatnot. But go ahead.
They don't. Here's
now they don't got the money to go to court. First it was they don't go to court because they feel like they're going to lose. Then it was they don't go to court because they don't get served. Now it's they don't got the money to go to court. Unbelievable.
Court?
Here's the thing. No, wait a minute. Here's the thing. Because I had this issue when I first got on YouTube in 2015. There was a guy that I used to deal with that would actually help guys go to court. And the problem he kept encountering is most guys did not want to go to court to fight for custody because they believed they would automatically lose.
But 60% win. Most fathers win when they contest.
Know that.
That is another fault of black men. That's more black men problems if they don't know that then.
Wait, hold on. Listen to what I'm saying. Not saying it's not their fault that they don't understand or educate themselves.
This is more anecdotal evidence, by the way,
on what they can do in the court system. But you have to realize, for black men culturally, the court is a place where they believe they're always going to lose. Okay, that's just a cultural thing. All right, we can't get around that. Now,
there's no way to get around that. Come on.
No, I'm saying we can't get around the fact that is a cultural thing they believe. Now, I constantly tell guys on my channel that you can go to court and win. And there are a lot of guys in the space that we're talking about who have went to court and won custody of their children. But most guys do not believe that they can do it. They believe that that's going to be a hard fight. In addition to the fact that the court system plays a lot of dirty tricks. A prime example is when a woman first goes to get child support. She goes to the court. She signs a affidavit. This affidavit states clearly that she has not received a single dollar from the named father, whoever she names as the father. She's saying that she's never seen a dollar from him. He's never given any support. Now, that initial court date, if the father is able to go to that court date and prove that he's given some money, then he'll win that case because she signed the affidavit. The problem is they don't serve fathers on that initial court date. And I know this because I went through it. You don't even know about that court date. If you're lucky
more anecdotal evidence
about that court date, you can go and fight it. But what happens is you don't get served by a process server for that court date. Half the time, these fathers don't even know they're on child support until one day they look at their check and money's missing. And they're like, what's going on? Then they contact the child support division to find out what's going on. And it's like, oh, you owe child support. Then they then they say, okay, well, when did this happen? Oh, well, you
okay, hold on. I'm trying to. This sounds like completely not true because of my personal experience with legal. Hold on, wait, real quick, because I'm just looking this up. So this is saying that like when you're doing like custody battles, you are right that the court won't serve the person, but that's because it's your responsibility. If you're not going to have your wages garnished for child support when you were never served anything. There's no possible way that's true. And this is saying here that if the other parent is not served within 120 days, your complaint will be dismissed and you'll have to start all over.
You don't even know. Hold on. See, you don't know because you didn't go through it. Okay.
I can't argue against your story. I can only go by like what's true. What I can see, like you.
Number one. Wait a minute. Number one. Here's the reality. You will get served papers after you owe child support. You'll get served, but the initial court date, you rarely ever get served those papers. They will not track you down, is what I'm saying. They will not track you down for you to come to that initial court date.
The only way you're not going to get served court papers is if you don't have a residence. If you have a residence where you lived and you've sustained that residence for any period of time, they won't have to track you down. They just come to your house and serve you the paper. If they have to track you down, it's because you don't have an address. At that point, yeah, they might proceed with the court filings because you hiding and dodging from them doesn't going to hold up the process, especially if the mother needs the money. So if they aren't able to find the dad, it's probably because the dad's homeless at the time.
And the reality is, this has happened to me a couple of times because I kept having the same issue where I'm like, okay, I'm taking care of my children, but then she goes to the court to do whatever. I don't get the initial paperwork. Then when I go to court, I have to explain this to the judge. I did not get the initial
real quick,
paperwork.
because we don't need the whole process explained. So I just want to understand this. You're telling me that you could have two people, living together, everything is chill. One person could sneak off to court, they could file for sole custody, go back home to the other parent, and months and everything could pass, and that whole process can be done without service ever being given to the party whose custody is being contested against.
Yes. Yes. You can look, here's the thing. They have what is called a TANF check, right? A woman can go and she can apply for a TANF check. And the reason why she's applying for this check is she's saying, I don't know who the father of my child is, right? Or the father of my child is not around. I don't know where he's at, right? So they say, okay, we'll give you
I'm
this
trying to
check.
like research this
They'll give
online.
them that
Everything is
check
saying the
for, I
opposite.
think, the
Can anybody
process is
find like a
year,
source
right?
for this? Because I super
But
can't.
the amount of
I can't
money
find
that
any
they
of this.
get
It sounds
for that
wild
year
to me.
is the equivalent of child support. And that money is stacked against the father in arrears. Now, that once that year is up, that check literally stops and it converts into a child support case. He's never went to court. There are dudes that are in households with women that went and did this because they didn't know any better. And now the guy that is living in the house with the woman owes child support to the woman that's in the same household as him.
I'm just trying to find like any like external thing. I'm just curious.
So a TANF check is the Temporary Assistance for Needy Families program, which provides cash assistance for families with dependent children when available resources do not fully address the family's needs while preparing program participants for independence through work. For someone to get this check, they have to cooperate with child support, participate in work activities, comply with substance abuse provisions, meet financial and technical eligibility requirements, earned unearned income cannot exceed the benefit level paid for the assistant unit size. Essentially meaning the person has to go and get verified that they don't make enough money to take care of their kids. And basically pay their rent and pay their bills and stuff. Now, if you were giving this person enough money to do this, to pay these bills, they wouldn't receive this assistance program. They have to prove that they're in dire need to even get this program. So there's no way you sitting in a house and you taking care of the kids and you taking care of the bills and someone can go out and get this program and just put you on child support without you ever even knowing. For this to happen this way, a whole bunch of random things would have to happen. Someone would have to be consistently moving so that they can't find them. The woman would have to be ridiculously slick. She would have to fudge a whole bunch of numbers. She would have to be ridiculously conniving and manipulative. The likelihood that this is going to happen, basically what I'm saying, is slim to none. It's a reach. It's a reach. Not going to say it never happens, but again, this is not the norm.
Yo, the court system is screwed up, bro. When it comes to child support, it is screwed up and it is biased.
Can I just address one of the articles Destiny put in the chat or the private chat?
Yeah.
I think it's the Chicago Tribune. He was talking about the 60% of the time, the others, if they fight, they win. It mentions here that some of that 60% is a goal for the fathers are most likely to seek custody when the mother.
My man, Mike all messed up, his camera freezing, goddamn.
Egregiously unfit or dysfunctional.
Yeah.
And then it leads on to, after that, many of the other cases result from the mother's financial inability to support the child.
Wait, either I'm lagging or he's
I
can't understand.
Related to the father's.
You have to repeat it.
Which part? This last part?
Yeah,
you're going in and out.
Okay,
yeah,
so it says
you was wrong because I just read it too. Yeah, you're wrong, Destiny.
What am I wrong on?
You're wrong for citing this, right? It's saying that the 60% is accounted by that comes from people that are already married. In contested divorce custody cases, the father wins 60% of the time. We're not talking about cases where they're married.
No. The other comparison thing was uncontested. If 90% of children of divorced single parents are living with their moms,
okay,
and that's all uncontested because the dad never asked, well, then of course that has nothing to do with the court. So that just goes to show that 90% of the time the children wanted to live with the mom, and the mom wanted to have the children.
The point that you just made from this Chicago Tribune thing was that women were awarded or men were awarded custody 60% of the time. Those are from divorce cases. Those are from cases where people have already been married. So you're ruling out and if we're talking about the black community, you're ruling out a lot of those children that were born out of wedlock, which we know is the majority.
Hold on. Even what you're saying is not true. If you read the sentence, it says in contested divorce and parentage custody cases. It's accounting for that's divorce and parentage cases. So those are,
damn, they ain't even properly read the article. This is embarrassing, man. This is embarrassing, man. Good Lord.
Okay. So,
but my problem with this article though is that it'll try. I didn't finish saying it says many of the other cases result from the mother's financial inability to support the child, then it leads to say, of course, that often is closely related to the father's failure to pay child support. So even when the mother has an inability to support the child, it's still the man to blame. And did you know, Destiny, if a man doesn't pay child support, he could go to jail? And we're talking about men who can't pay child support, right? So now they can't pay child support because they literally don't have the money most of the time, and then they get sent to jail, and then they don't have the money anymore. Like a lot of these stuff happen, get caught up in a system that we can say is just on the men. They need to step up. But if you get put on child support where you don't even know you are on it, and now you don't want to pay it or you can't pay it, and you end up going to jail for something like this, like that's a little bit of nuance that you won't ever talk about.
Well, hold on. First, wait. Hold on. We can't have like three fucking people bouncing back and forth. I can't respond to anything. Okay. So firstly, let's read this entire thing. Okay. Some of that 60% is accounted for by the fact that the fathers are most likely to seek custody when the mother is egregiously unfit or dysfunctional. This says some. So that implies less than 50%. Okay. So it's not just when the mother is fucking egregiously unfit or dysfunctional. Okay. When you talk about like going to jail for not paying child support that you didn't even know that you owed, I've been through the child support process because me and my kid's mom are separated and I wanted to do everything by the courts. My understanding from my personal experience is that both sides have to be served papers. You can't, when you go to a court to file when the father is known, now if the father is unknown or something, that might be a different process, but when the father is known and you are seeking relief from that person, when you go to file those papers, service has to be given to the other member of that complaint. It'll be listed on the paper, like for the county clerk to like file the paperwork, pretty sure both people to be involved. Now, there might be some like extra cases where that is not the case. I'm Googling like crazy to try to find it, but every single thing that I'm seeing is saying you must serve papers. You have to serve papers. That you're not just going to wake up one day and have a child support order against you and like, holy fuck, I didn't even go to court for this ever. I've never seen that ever.
It says you have to serve papers, but is that, look, there's a difference between service, right? One version of serving papers is delivering it, but another version is you got to sign for it. Okay? What I've noticed is that
so you got the paper in the mail and you didn't read it. So we don't went from it being black women's fault. Now it's the court fault that they send you a court sealed document with your name on it and you didn't open it and read it. Now they got to give it to you, tell you what it is for you to sign and say that you got it. Unbelievable. And that's completely different than what he said in the beginning, where he said he wasn't served at all.
They went on with the case without me signing anything. Now,
you don't have to sign it. You just have to receive it. They just have to verify it was given to you or at an address where someone verified that you stay there. As for example, if someone says you stay with your father, they knock at your father's door to serve you. They ask if you live there. Your father says yes. They can give your father the paper. If you don't read it, that's on you.
That when I had subsequent cases, I had to sign for the service. I had to sign for the paperwork. Okay. So I don't know what jurisdiction you're in, but in different jurisdictions, they do things differently, right? Everybody knows different jurisdictions have different.
I live in Florida now. I know what Florida law is, and I was in Nebraska. I've had people serve me papers before. Service to me has required acknowledgement. Now, I could be wrong, and if somebody links me or whatever, I'll be like, okay, it's different here. Because it might be. I don't know the law everywhere. I agree with that 100%. But I would be surprised. You're telling me there are states where legal service can be dropping something off in a mailbox, and that's like service? I've served you papers? Because this is why, like in movies and shows and everything, somebody will find you.
No, they don't drop it off in the mailbox. What happened, if that's what happened to Angryman, now that he's telling that part, is someone in the household acknowledged Angryman lived there and received the letter and brought it into the house. They didn't drop it in the mailbox. That's cap.
Hey, here you go. You've been served. Like, you have these papers.
Yeah, but if you notice, look, I don't know what's going on. Like, I have an issue with it because I feel like service means that I should be signing for something. But every single time that has happened to me, and I'm not the only guy, I've had other guys tell me the same thing, that initial court date.
And all the evidence.
Where they could actually contest it. They didn't get service. They didn't even know. They didn't even know until after they owed it. And it's crazy because what happens, just like Sway just said, you know, when you don't know or you actually get locked up for it, whatever, you're not really locked up for child support. You're locked up for failing to adhere to a court order, right? That's the loophole because they're not supposed to be locking you up for owing child support.
Yeah, in California, you have to do. I mean, like, if something happened to you, maybe you missed it, or maybe something happened, or I can't speak to your personal story, but like in every state I'm looking up, like according to the judicial branch of California, the party who chooses to begin the legal process must notify the other and must do so through the service of papers. Within the context of child custody, the parent seeking custody has to serve copies of their filed paperwork to the other parent. Like, I don't think you can just like say like, oh, I served them and now they're garnished and now they're getting locked up for child support.
We're dealing with the court system. And when you're dealing with the court system, there's a whole lot of loopholes that are used for numerous purposes. And like Patriarchy said a second ago, it is biased in favor of the women.
I don't believe any of this. If you guys want to like link me something or whatever, that's fine. But we can't just keep saying it's biased. This is my story.
Destiny,
yeah, go for
Destiny,
it. Okay.
Let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
The link that you just. So I'm going to post something right now. Mm-hmm. What year did that article come out that you posted from the Chicago Tribune?
From 94.
1994. Okay, I have something right here that is a little bit more recent. So I will say this, right? What I'm seeing right now is still 60% awarded to women. When I said 90%, I made a mistake. I was thinking about child support payments, right? Like 90% of child support
All
payments.
right, this conversation is basically going nowhere. We got a bunch of disingenuousness going on. I don't know how we even got into a child support argument or what that really has to do with anything or why we're even talking about the black community. But at the end of the day, Angryman, Sway, and Patriarchy are going to continue to say it's the black women's fault. Destiny's going to continue to say that it's both fault. The reality is Destiny won this debate because it is both people's fault. Not only did he make the better points, it's just the fact of the matter. You can't put it all on either one. It's both people's fault. Now, if not Destiny, I apologize. If Patriarchy, Sway, and Angryman feel away because they feel like it's always put on the black man, that might have something to do with the fact that there's more black women than black men. That may also have something to do with the fact that women lack accountability. But guess what? It doesn't change the fact that we can't put it all on black women. We just can't do that. We can't do that. It's an equal share and an equal responsibility, especially if you help produce kids. Now, someone like me can talk a little bit more shit because I don't have any kids. But imagine being a father and you're not married to your baby mom and you having this debate about whose fault it is. It's both y'all fault because y'all shouldn't have had a kid without being married in the first place, if we're being honest. And we could just break it all down to that. So Destiny won this debate. Even if I go back to the very first video and I put all the points together where I agree with Destiny a lot more than I agree with Angryman. Angryman made some good points, but for the most part, he's talking from a one-side biased point of view and in blind defense of black men at the expense of black women, even when the black man is wrong. So reality is Destiny won the debate. Black men got to take more accountability. And again, at the end of the day, in the words of Patrice O'Neal, everything is your fault. If women aren't being nurturing, caring, feminine, and submissive to you, it's your fault. If your women are going around out here cashing out child support payments and welfare checks and trying to Section 8, get a house and house pimp, it's still your fault. Because if you was there and you was taking care of them and you was putting them in line, they wouldn't be doing any of that crap. That's just the reality of the situation. There's no way we can get around that. Now, if you want an SYSBM, you want a passport, you want to do whatever you want to do, you can do it. But when it comes to why the black communities in the state is in, it's black men and black women's fault. And going forward, I hope we don't have these conversations in white spaces because just why? Either way, that's my thoughts on this debate. I am Alex and I am out. Peace.